You're watching Femchef FGC. Like and subscribe to my favorite gladiator on the Citadel.
It's me, Femchef, and I'm back with another pocket guide to a different category playing Street Fighter 6, and this time it is whiff punishing, as requested by one of my channel members, Shaq the Great, in lieu of the replay review that he normally gets for being a paying channel member. So I'm gonna hop in, and we are gonna talk about whiff punishing today. So for starters, what is a whiff? A whiff is anytime you throw out a button and they don't block it, and it doesn't hit them. You simply weren't close enough for the button to do anything to them. It whiffs in their face. A whiff punish is when, while they are still recovering from the move that did not connect with them, you throw out a button that then connects on punish counter that goes into full combo and punishes them for having whiffed their button. Now, one of the ways I'm gonna cover two different ways that you can generally approach getting your opponent to whiff and punishing it. And the first one is by understanding the stages of neutral, and the second one is spacing traps. So I'm gonna start with the stages of neutral. Generally, and there is of course variance within this, but generally, neutral is a triangle where each stage counters one of the other stages. And that triangle is active, proactive, or passive. Active is when you're poking. You're walking into your opponent's space, you're pressing buttons on hit or on block, you're laying in pressure, and you're close enough for your buttons to hit, and you're close enough for their buttons to hit you. Proactive is the covering stage, functionally. It means your opponent is approaching you and poking you and entering your space, so you are preemptively throwing out buttons to keep them from entering your space. As Marissa, I might be buffering a drive rush behind my crouch medium punch. I might throw out a forward medium punch to try to catch them throwing out a button. I might be charging a heavy that moves me forward quite a bit to catch them throwing out a button. There are a lot of different options, but the important thing is you are not reacting to something here, you are predicting and preventing it. And the third stage is passive, or turtling. This can mean just sitting and holding down back like every Guile player ever, but generally it just means not being offensively active and not being active on defense either, not really trying to prevent them walking into your space. It's going to be a lot of blocking and possibly also some walking back, with the main goal of trying to get you to miss when you throw out your button because they moved out of the range. So you can see how each of these things counters the other thing. If they are really actively entering your space and poking, then you want to be preemptively throwing out buttons. If they're preemptively throwing out buttons as you're approaching them, then you want to actually stop throwing out buttons and back up a little so that when they throw out their button because they thought you were going to press and you didn't, you can then whiff punish them. And if they are just being passive themselves and not really doing much and they want you to whiff, then you want to make sure you walk forward close enough and start laying on the pressure. Now, obviously, your opponent isn't just going to have a symbol floating above their head that tells you if they're currently playing active, proactive, or passive. And at higher levels of play, they'll be shifting between these modes faster and more subtly, and it gets harder and harder to play the neutral as you advance. But generally, people have a preferred way that they like to play, and you can tell which of those modes they're usually in as early as the first interaction in the round by walking forward, blocking, and seeing what they did because you were walking forward into their space. If they respond by throwing out a button, then you already know when I walk forward, this player likes to press crouch medium kick. And you know that is the range at which you want to play, so that button just barely whiffs. You're playing just outside that range, and you can then whiff punish it because he thought you were coming towards him, and actually you weren't. Likewise, maybe he's using stand heavy punch, which doesn't go quite as far, so you can then play a little bit closer. Maybe he's using solar plexus, which has proximity guard and moves him forward quite a lot, so you have to play further away or specifically time some backdashes in order to be able to whiff punish that button. But the buttons he is using should inform what kind of spacing you want to be playing at in order to cause those buttons to whiff, because he thought you were coming in to lay on the offense and actually you were looking for him to whiff the whole time. I'm gonna take a drink of water real quick.
If you've come to fight, then fight!
The second way to set up whiffs is spacing traps. And a spacing trap is something, particularly on block, that you do that sets up where your opponent thinks They should be able to press a button to take their turn back afterwards, but the button they are most likely to press does not reach you. And an easy example of this that works anywhere on the screen is Marissa's forward heavy kick, like Gladius. This spaces Ryu out so far that he may think he can press a crouch medium kick, but even though his foot is touching Marissa's foot, he's not actually close enough for this button to connect. He could sweep you, but that requires him knowing it's a spacing trap. And if he autopilots the crouch medium kick instead, well... GG's. If your opponent does know it's a spacing trap, and they are using a big enough normal to reach you after the spacing trap, like Ryu's sweep, that doesn't just mean they now win the situation, because those buttons that are big enough to reach you are usually punishable on block. So if he knows it's a spacing trap, instead of looking for a whiff, you can simply let them kill themselves and block them trying to take their turn back, thinking that you were going to play preemptive. And this goes back to the triangle of active, proactive, passive. They thought you were going to proactively throw out a wish punish, and they attempted to cover your approach by proactively throwing out their own big button, but actually, that's not gonna work because you knew, you blocked, and now you can punish. I believe you might also be able to interrupt with the medium there. Let me see. No. If you went for your wish punish, if there I went for the crouch medium punch, that would also interrupt your wish punish because you are negative after that blocked Gladius. You are -5. It's not your turn to press a button. That only works if they fell for the spacing trap. If they aren't falling for the spacing trap, again, you just block and you punish them for that. So spacing traps can be a very powerful way to set up whiffs, and there are generally two different ways to set up a spacing trap. One is just that the move you used spaces you out really far, spacing, yeah. The other is that you do something that should be negative. It is based on the frame data, a negative option, but because of the spacing at which you used it, it is not actually punishable. And there are examples of this all through the game. Jamie's Rekka is unsafe on block, but he will usually do it off of a normal that pushes him so far away that even though he is -6 off the first hit of that Rekka, any 6 frame or faster button you could press is going to whiff because it pushed him so far away from you. And that's just one example. There are countless examples throughout the game. I could go on for a very long time. But basically, the numbers can lie to you. It's important to understand that just because something is negative or safe on block does not mean that it's your turn to press a button afterwards. I'm trying to think of another example specifically of something that pushes you out really far to where you wouldn't be able to punish.
Come to fight, then fight.
Oh man. Donkey kick. Donkey kick. Ryu's donkey kick is quite negative on block. But at a lot of spacings, any punish you could possibly do is going to whiff. I'm sure this has happened to you on rank because we know Ryu's love their donkey kick. So, when you are running your own spacing traps to set up a whiff, there are two different ways to approach this. One is reactive. You are waiting for them to throw out their button before you react with a whiff punish. So I see him do the crouch medium kick, and then I press my button as an actual reaction. If he didn't press the crouch medium kick, I don't press. Alternatively, there is the preemptive approach after your spacing trap, a wish punish, if you will. And that is you do your spacing trap, and you're throwing out your button that will catch them pressing if they pressed, but you do run the risk of whiffing yourself if they did not actually press a button when you were trying to spacing trap them. So if Ryu does throw out his crouch medium kick there, it automatically gets the drive rush cancel into whiff punish. But if he didn't do it, well, I whiffed. I read that he was going to fall for the spacing trap. He didn't. And now he can actually whiff punish my whiffed whiff punish, which is really a mouthful. Sometimes it can be useful to do wish punishes because it reduces your mental stack. You're not actually trying to react to them hitting a button. But it does run the risk of you playing too preemptive and being wrong. Often it is more valuable, for instance, to look for one or two things after your spacing trap and respond accordingly. So maybe Ryu is going to crouch medium kick, or Ryu is going to do a jump forward out of the corner. You see, it becomes a lot harder when you're thinking about more than one thing. But if you were just going ahead and autopiloting a whiff punish there, and he were to jump, well, now you're in a bad situation. So you want to consider your opponent's habits and the risk reward of the specific situation in which you are doing your spacing trap before you commit to your spacing trap. It is much easier to spacing trap your opponent and to read the timing of their buttons correctly when they are cornered. Because normally, one of the risks you have to worry about when you are playing the setting up a whiff punish game is that they are simply going to walk out of the range of your buttons. And if they are cornered, by definition, they cannot walk back. So situations where normally you wouldn't be able to just walk away from them and guarantee that they can't walk out of the range of your wish punish, you now can. If I throw this out, safe on block, and I back up, I know he can't also back up. If I throw this out, he can't back up. This is a huge bully tool for Marissa in the corner to potentially set up whiffs, where it's normally not really much of a spacing trap mid-screen because they can just walk away. I can keep doing this, and the pushback is such that, and the speed is such that it'll interrupt a lot of the buttons he tries to press, and when he finally does try to press a button that doesn't connect, so experiment with your character, maybe set a bot to block and do different moves on block in the corner and see what potential spacing traps are. Talk to other people who play your character. Think about the risk reward, set the bot to do different things on block and see if you do a wish punish. What is the potential result of you throwing out a whiff punish when they didn't whiff? And practice on ranked or battle hub or with your friends, whatever, getting used to testing what does my opponent do when I walk forward, how do they try to control their space, what buttons do they like to use, and how can I stand just outside the range of those buttons, and do I know that I have my whiff punish combos off my different starters ready to go and in my muscle memory for when they whiff. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for watching. When in doubt, Gladius. Like, comment, subscribe. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, you can check that out as well on the channel. And have a great rest of your week.
Where are you going? Before hitting like and subscribe,